And then when they threw away the car keys, I tried to get back out of the car to go to the doctor's office to call the sheriffs. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, the sheriffs came, and when the sheriffs came, they did this report, and they called the paramedics because of the blood on her arm.
Right.
And the sheriffs came, and the conclusion of their report was that it was incidental contact that happened when I was trying to leave, that they had followed me there, and that I was trying to get away. You know, it was no incident. And the paramedics report was she had a graze on her arm, and she refused further treatment and put the pain at a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10. That is the basis now for Scientology claiming that I have beaten up my ex-wife.
Right. I remember seeing a video of that, yeah.
I caused her permanent physical damage. Now the story is the bones, my daughter could hear the bones breaking in her shoulder, that she has had to have operations, that she has had permanent neurological damage that she'll never recover from. She can't sleep because she's in such pain. And this is now the campaign of Justice for Mum, which is the website that ostensibly is the website of my daughter. And this is put up by the Office of Special Affairs and is tried to tack on to the Me Too movement. And my daughter got sent out and, you know, got a picture taken with Gretchen Carlson and with Jackie Lacey, the district attorney in Los Angeles, and the mayor of LA in all these women's Me Too movement events with the Justice for Mum. And that's still going on. That website still exists. She still does posts on it.
And in their video, they even had like a legitimate orthopedic surgeon in California.
I don't know that he was a legitimate orthopedic surgeon, but
I Googled him. He had a website. I don't know if he's legit. Now,
he might be a Scientologist.
Right, yeah. I wouldn't doubt it. Is those reports, the paramedics report and the police report from that incident, is that available publicly?
Yeah, I've got it on my blog. It's on various other blogs. It's been put, like, a lot of people have taken this up and gone, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Look deep enough, you can find out.
Yeah. You don't have to look very far. You can just look on my blog. I think I have a post on there that's called Mike Rinder Lady Killer or something, and where I just went through and laid all this out. And in fact, in one of the upcoming episodes of the new podcast with Leah, we talked about this. It hasn't aired yet, but and I'll have all the documents because I created a little website to go with the podcast that just has the documents that we talk about on the podcast.
Okay,
that
so
website got hacked before it was even live.
Holy shit! These people are relentless.
Totally.
Now, did you ever worry, like, fear for your own physical safety? Or is it just kind of like cyber stalking, people, you know, following you around? I mean, I know it can get weird, but has it ever come to, like, any sort of physical threat?
Well, the only physical thing was this incident in the doctor's parking lot.
Okay.
That was physical. But no, this is mind games.
Okay.
You know, it's the prison of belief, and it's the mind fuck of I'm going to make you believe that bad things are going to happen to you, and unless you stop, and I'm going to make it uncomfortable and unpleasant and make you worry about your family and et cetera, et cetera. But I have never thought that any physical damage would happen. I mean, a few times some of their PIs have gotten sort of out of control. One of them ran into the back of me one time. They've, you know, done crazy, like driving down Gulf to Bay and literally, US 19, and literally trying to keep up with me, driving through over the center median on US 19 in order to not get left behind at a light. And, you know, that sort of stuff. But as for, you know, sending around thugs with baseball bats, no, I don't. I'm never worried about that.
Now, going back, I meant to ask you this earlier. How could you possibly get into a scenario where you're somewhere with David Miscavige, who is like the supreme leader of Scientology, and he is beating you up? How does that situation come about, and what is the point of it?
Well, how does that situation come about? It just happens like sort of on a routine daily basis of anybody that's working around or with him.
Like, what is he? Does he punch you in the face? That he like
sometimes
what does he
slap, kick, comes up behind you and grabs you around the neck in a headlock or wrestles you to the ground. Just random. He's like an angry little man.
Right.
And, you know, he grew up as a wrestler. That was what he did. And he sort of takes out his aggression and frustrations physically. I mean, he's also very abusive verbally, too. I mean, he's like incredibly verbally abusive as well. But this happens routinely. Anybody that worked with him, and, you know, I don't know that he hasn't stopped doing the physical stuff when it's now that it's become so exposed, at least limited the scope of it to only the very, very inner circle. But for a while it was, you know, very routine. And you get into a frame of mind that is so insane that you believe that, and this is a sort of a fundamental belief of Scientology, that whatever happens to you is your own fault, that you have done something that has caused that to happen to you. So when David Miscavige wails on you, your inclination is to go, what have I done that has caused the leader of Scientology to be so upset that he has lost his fucking mind?
Yeah.
And that is hammered in and hammered in and hammered in, and you start to wonder whether it's you that is the problem. And honestly, the people that remained there, who used to be the senior echelon of Scientology, those people all believe that it's them, that they're nuts, that they're evil, and that they have failed to adequately support David Miscavige in his campaign to save the world. I mean, I know how nuts this sounds, Danny. And I know that a lot of people go, how could you not see this? How could you? And there is a lot of reasons for it. And, you know, I saw it maybe 2 years before I ultimately left. But the consequences of leaving are so terrible in your mind that you don't want to take that step. I knew that I would lose the woman I'd been married to for more than 30 years. I would lose my kids. I would lose my mother and brother and sister. I believed at the time that I would lose my spiritual eternity. And that I would walk out into the world, you know, 50 years old with no money, no college degree, a resume of I was the spokesperson for Scientology isn't much of a resume. And I had nowhere to go. So that is what kept me there for the last number of years until ultimately I was in England dealing with the BBC, and Miscavige started sending things saying, you're never coming back to the United States. You're a piece of shit. You're never blah, 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 blah. And I went...
Personally sent you these things?
Yeah.
Well, what were they, like emails, letters?
Just, yeah, letters, like a letter. And I then went, well, okay, I don't have much left to lose. And eventually I sort of reached the point of, well, nothing can be worse than this. And I literally walked out of the Scientology building in London into the street with a briefcase, 2 BlackBerry phones, my passport, and 100 pounds. That's it. I didn't have any clothes. I didn't have anything. I didn't have anywhere to go. I got on the tube and I went to Leicester Square and I sat, and then I wandered around in London for a couple of days, and then I eventually called Tom DeVocht, who was one of the other people that is in the Truth Rundown series, and who I had known since he was a child, and he had left the Sea Org previous to me, and he was in Orlando, and I got a plane and flew to Orlando and stayed with him for a while. And then I went from there very shortly thereafter and stayed with Ronnie and Biddy Miscavige, David Miscavige's older brother, who had also left the Sea Org previously.
Really?
Yes.
What was that? What was it like hanging out with them and being around them?
Well, they were very, very old friends. I mean, they were my closest friends in the Sea Org. I had known Biddy since I had arrived. Her name is Elizabeth. Since I had arrived on the Apollo, and as I said, Ron Jr. from when he had first arrived in the Sea Org, and we had been very close. Our kids had grown up together. Jenna Miscavige, who ultimately wrote a book after she left about her uncle, was really raised with my son, Benjamin, together. They were like brother and sister. And it was very, very helpful to me because Ronnie and Biddy had left a couple of years before me. And it takes a while to unravel your thoughts and how you see things and what you think about things and figure out whether you're looking at something because that's what Scientology taught you, or you're looking at something because that's what it really is. And it's a real process to come out of that cocoon of that prison of belief. And it was very helpful having them being such close, dear friends who had already gone a long way down that path. And Biddy was the one that said to me when I first arrived there, you've got to write immediately and demand that Kathy, my ex-wife, come and see us, because she was Kathy's best friend. And so I wrote to the Office of Special Affairs. I knew exactly who to write to, and I wrote to him. I said, I want to see Kathy. And she answered back. I got a handwritten note back from her saying, Dear Mike, fuck you. I filed the divorce papers.
Wow.